What fringe player for the U.S. men's national team has the best chance of breaking into the squad with a good club season? I think first order of business, how are we defining fringe player here?
I would say fringe player in this case is someone who is not in the 11.
Yeah, doesn't play regularly.
Outside of maybe the top 13 players, you know, someone who we haven't really seen get
Give me an
the
example.
minutes that they deserve. For me, a fringe player in this case,
Yeah.
my answer would be Johnny Cardoso.
Okay.
Mark McKenzie.
He's playing regularly in La Liga for Real Betis. He's playing. I mean, he's played well.
An important position
but hasn't been given the opportunity to play.
If Tyler Adams, what's the deal with Tyler Adams' injury? Is he going to be ready for October? Like that's a position that constantly needs to be evaluated because our best player is constantly injured, and Pochettino needs to know. All right, who's up next? Who's ready to go?
What are you talking about? It's not only him. McKennie doesn't play. Gio Reyna doesn't play.
For sure.
Well, McKennie doesn't play now. Gio Reyna hadn't played for a year, and then you're throwing in, the number of other players who are in and out of their teams and not consistent.
Who would you like to see, for example? I have my answer, Johnny Cardoso. Like, if Tyler Adams ain't ready come October, which he might not be, to be honest.
Let's say Weston doesn't play either.
Who's ready to go?
Who goes? Yunus Musa hasn't played regularly. I mean, he plays here and there, but you look at the whole midfield, which is our strength, because that's where we have, I'd say, the most consistent players who are available and who are probably our most gifted players are our midfield, the amount of players that we have there. And a lot of them aren't regular players.
There is one. We talk about fringe players.
Luca Del Torre?
Leonard Maloney. This guy plays just about every minute in the German Bundesliga, had a solid season for Heidenheim, who, last time I checked, are in Europe, and he still plays. He's going to get European competition and still play regularly in the Bundesliga. If I'm Poch, I'm looking at that guy.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I think there's a lot of depth in the midfield. So who's up next? When I mentioned the Tyler Adams example because that's such a pivotal position to the system, or at least the system. I would imagine Poch is going to have he's going to do 2-3-1, right? Who's going to be alongside Tyler Adams, or is it Johnny Cardoso, and who do you pair him with? Like, those are the questions that I'm now trying to envision. Like, who's it? Because there's a lot of fringe players. Like, Luca De La Torre, you mentioned Leonard Maloney. Could it be Leonard Maloney alongside Johnny Cardoso?
Luca De La Torre is, for me, not a
all right.
You don't like him in that position?
One of the two.
Okay. All right. So these are the questions. Some fringe player, considering that Gio Reyna doesn't play, Weston McKennie might.
Can we all agree, though, if Tyler Adams is healthy, it's a no-brainer?
Right.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, 100%.
But that's not a given at any point in any moment ever.
Right.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned at his inability to stay healthy.
Can I mention Mark McKenzie also?
Yeah.
A center back that doesn't probably get a lot of minutes for the national
That's a good
team.
shout.
And Cameron Carter-Vickers, for the most obvious reason of the relationship with Poch when he was at Spurs.
That he sent them out. He didn't want him at Spurs because he wasn't good enough.
Maybe in Poch, Cameron, I got that wrong. That bad accent, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Moving on. What's the first thing Pochettino needs to change when he takes over? So, first order of business for Poch Lahoud. What do you think?
The sense of complacency in the squad and the lack of competition in the squad, which means Vibes FC. I want to see a team that feels like no one is safe. And there's certain players like Christian Pulisic who are safe because he's the best player on the team right now. But I want to see that fight. I want to see that consistency in the side. And competition breeds that. Competition will get the best out of this team. I want to see a shakeup. So, competition.
Competition. Chuck, you agree?
Somebody in my ear said, "Hey, get rid of that leadership committee. That thing's got to go."
When was it ever a leadership
I've never heard of that before. I mean,
no, that's been disbanded. That left with Berhalter.
Yeah, a coach.
I know who
a
that
coach
was.
normally will. You know who the senior players are. You don't need a committee. You can just have a conversation with somebody and say.
Could you imagine
hey,
Poch walks into the dressing room and one guy from the leadership committee goes, "Oh no, coach. We have the leaders come over here," and just like, oh my God!
Oh, I just got to.
like that's been done. That doesn't exist anymore. That left with Berhalter. Like, don't worry, Poch. Like, you don't have to deal with that.
No, but I think just the competition for places and bringing back what the national team was when I came into it. in order to get called up, you have to earn the call up.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to earn the call up was with playing time, and not only playing but playing well.
Yeah, 100%.
So being a sub, unless you're a sub at a top 4 Champions League club, in various leagues, and you're playing at a massive club and you're coming to sub, okay. But if you're a substitute, you're not getting called in. You have to be a starter and then playing well. So I think there's levels to that, and I think Pochettino is going to bring that back.
He brings that back at the most elite level. His methods, the seriousness that he brings into camp. He's a top manager for a national team that's hosting the World Cup that has very little wiggle room. So all this, Tony uses the word kumbaya, like this good, feel good, we're brothers, we love being in camp. Yeah, that's great. Combine everything you guys are saying with the utmost seriousness. Understand what it means to wear this crest, the privilege that you have putting on the United States men's national team kit. This isn't like, oh, I'm going to get called up. No. There's something to be done here, and we better get working.
Ooh.
I like this, Nico.
Wow.
That's what Poch is going to bring to the table.
What did they give you a hard time for yesterday? Someone said that you couldn't manage, you couldn't motivate a team or something. I said, and I agree.
Too young.
No way.
I wouldn't want to do
Yeah,
that.
31.
If he was because we were talking about Fabian Hertzler.
Yeah.
He's 31 years
He's
old.
1 year older than me.
Yeah.
Could he be a manager for Boca Juniors?
No, not for Boca.
Not for Boca.
No, not for Boca.
There's a team. I just want to pitch this out to you. There's a team, local team in Stamford, co-ed team.
Okay.
We play on, I think, Tuesday, Wednesdays,
I could do
possibly
that.
Thursdays. We don't have a manager yet.
I could do that. Not a Premier
Start
League
there.
team.
That pumped me up. I'm ready. I was like, let's go.
I was motivated.
There's seriousness attached to this.
Yeah, no. I think that's important to.
There could be vibes.
Yeah.
But national team isn't about vibes.
No, it's
about winning the World
It's
Cup.
a respect thing.
Yeah.
In some ways, not entirely. It's a little bit about an element of fear when those guys walk in, and they shouldn't fear their manager, but.
Well,
There's that level of I need to show up.
You're more conscious though of what clubs you go to, right? It's not about the name or prestige of the club or the contract that you're making.
No, it's a good point.
Where am I going to succeed and fulfill my potential? Where am I going to play? As opposed to let me go to the biggest club and
You don't think all of these guys, the moment Berhalter leaves, and the moment they hear, oh, Pochettino's coming, you don't think all of them, save for Anthony Robinson and Pulisic, they all went,
Okay,
let me sort this out.
This is a great segue into our next question, which is, which starter for the U.S. men's national team is most at danger of being dropped by Pochettino?
This couldn't be easier. Gio Reyna. That's the only answer.
And is it simply because he's not
play.
getting minutes?
He doesn't play. You can't justify it.
Who you are so high on,
Still
doesn't.
plays.
Not consistently.
It doesn't matter. He still plays.
Not consistently. You said consistent
He's not a
minutes,
starter.
Charlie.
He's not even a starter.
Let's back up the bus. Before we go ham on Gio, what about our goalkeeper?
Oof.
Matt Turner.
Yeah, I think
We're talking about not playing. We're talking about a guy that, redeemed aspects of himself, but there's still tons of question marks. I'm looking at that guy first, and then Gio.
Well, the problem why I wouldn't go him first is because the quality behind him is so poor. So if
Raise
you want
the quality by giving players a chance.
If you want to talk about who is the automatic and easy answer, it's Gio Reyna because the midfield's loaded, and you have 7, 8 players who are playing consistently, and even Yunus Musa, who's one of the most talented players that we have, is at Milan, which is not a small club, and he still figures out a way to play and get minutes. As in this past opening weekend, he comes in and he has a sub, and he's a part of the first goal. So that, for me, all Pochettino has to say is go, oh, that's AC Milan, that's a Serie A team, a top club, legendary club, and he's figuring out a way with a new manager to come in and still play.
Can I toe the line between both of you guys? I think what you're saying, it's an easier call. What you're saying is a bigger area of concern.
Yeah. Look, you want to send a message. New managers come in all the time, and they say, hey, this is my team. This is my message I'm sending. You make some earth-shattering decisions. I think Matt Turner, sitting out.
Who would be your starter?
Go Gaga or Patrick Schulte.
You would go Gaga, who didn't even start over Patrick Schulte in the Olympics.
Put one of the two kids, put him in there in the deep end. Answer that question. Right now, we don't have any answers for that question because we haven't even tried.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation.
I think for the goalkeeper position, the minutes thing, it becomes even more important because you can't just show up to camp having not played in matches and have that comfort level.
100%.
You know, like you have to be in that zone. And so Matt Turner, what's he gonna do?
At least he got some games before the World Cup.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he got 6 games maybe.
Sure. Right now?
And he had a good now, but your backup gets pumped for 5 in the championship and has the ball roll under his foot? That's your backup?
and Gaga's playing League 2, 3rd division.
3rd division England. And Schulte was your starter for the Olympics.
League 1, excuse me.
And he's still making mistakes. It's not like you have a phenomenal Olympic keeper who's playing for the Columbus Crew and he's at the level that Matt Turner was in MLS.
But here's the thing. This is why it's such a big area of concern. If Poch decided match day, his very first game against Mexico, whatever it's going to be, to drop Matt Turner, he would be justified because he has enough of a sample size under Berhalter to say, all right, you know what? Let's look beyond this goalkeeper, but then his call he's gonna have to live by his call because it doesn't get better on paper. But if he gives certain indications or ideas for the goalkeeping position, don't play out of.
But do you even think Gio Reyna gets called in?
Well, I don't know.
How about that?
Yeah.
We're gonna.
That'll set the tone.
Yeah,
if he does
it
or
will.
not, that'll set the tone about okay, everyone is
And the
held to this
Bundesliga
standard.
season hasn't even started yet. There is a new guy in charge at Dortmund. We don't know. I mean, perhaps he is in his plans. We shall see.